Let's move into our next section. This ties right into what we're talking about. So we're talking about wins and biggest challenges. And we've been talking about challenges. Let's see if we can talk about some wins as well. I know that Teresa and Bruce have been heading up Coffee Connections in Northwest Indiana, getting that off the ground. So now, obviously, leadership is influence. And so, Teresa, tell us a little bit about some of the wins and the biggest challenges that you've had in leadership in creating a mastermind group, which, by the way, all of you can do. It's a great way to connect with people. This is a mastermind group, but then there's mastermind groups in Northwest Indiana, in Utah, in Aurora, all over the United States that are happening. So give us a little overview of some of the wins and challenges you're having in creating this area of this Coffee Connection.
Sure. Well, kind of like how there's a group out here in Aurora, we have one out in Northwest Indiana, Coffee Connections. Bruce and I are co-leading it up, and it's actually grown a good amount. We've gotten a lot of interest, different types of people coming through. We have members contributing to the group, so we get to engage them in that way as well. So lots of wins there and connections being made, business connections. I'm sure Bruce could back me up on that. But some of the challenges I'm seeing or we're seeing is how to best engage them so that they could see the value for themselves and not just attend. And then everybody's at like their own different level of leadership. So some people might just be discovering it. So how do you take that and help them really realize it and take it to the next level? And we're trying to do that in, engaging and presenting or offering some piece of wisdom from themselves. So kind of working through how best to keep interest on a consistent basis. We meet once a month in person and once a month on the phone. And we're about, an hour away from here. So I guess just giving value, sharing that with one another, and really kind of like what we're doing here. But I mean, Coffee Connections, it's a little more loose. So whether to put the right structure in, keep it loose for open conversation to best mingle and offer something of worth to everybody in attendance on a regular basis.
Thank you. What are some of the things that you're doing you're finding that's effective, that's creating value for people?
I think having a little bit of structure and a topic to bring people in helps. Engaging them and seeing what they're looking for, asking, what they want to see in their business, taking the biggest challenges that they mention and maybe addressing that in a future session so that they could get feedback on that. That's really helped a lot. Being consistent in when we meet and times, and getting the message out to them in time so that they could hopefully plan, and then encouraging them to invite other people. It comes in waves, but those things have at least produced some kind of consistency.
What's the number one question you ask somebody as you're approaching to join your mastermind group? What's the thing that when you're talking to somebody in the course of conversation, business, networking, whatever, hey, what's like the number one question you ask them that intrigues them, that at least wants them to join, wants them to become part of the group?
That's a good question. Maybe still in development, but definitely what's your biggest challenge? What are you working on in your business? Where are you right now, and what are you seeking to accomplish? So that we could see what kind of resources they're looking for, where their strengths are, because we had somebody who's really awesome at getting systems and turning over her tasks to her employees and creating teams. And so we had her share about how she does that, and a lot of people really benefited from that too. So seeing what they're working on, where they are, really just listening to them and seeing what's going on in their business.
And then with the intent of obviously not only growing the group, but having them start their own or have them join another one. And because it's about we want results. We want, whether it's building a business, whether it's building a group, whether it's a volunteer group, for veterans or whatever it is, the same systems apply. The same things apply in leadership. Anything else you want to add to that?
I think that's mostly it. I'd love to hear, if we have time in the segment, of what other people find successful if they're leading a group or building teams, on how to help the leadership and ownership take place.
Yeah.
We would be happy to hear.
Just open it up for 4 or 5 minutes. What are some of the things that you guys are finding success with in leading groups? Ed, what are some of the things that you're finding?
It's when you teach and you teach people and you help people, it comes back in spades. So the more you teach, the more you help people, the more that it just comes back, and your business will take off just by helping people. So that's the biggest thing. Everybody's always afraid, oh, I can't give them my secrets, or I don't want to tell them my business strategies and all the other stuff like that. 30 years ago in Aurora, somebody wanted to get all the property managers together and have lunch once a month. And I thought that was a really stupid idea. Okay? But I did it anyway. I kept an open mind, and it built relationships, and some of the relationships I still have now. I have one property manager that went into condo management. I don't do condo management, and that's all he does. I get condos, I refer it to him. He gets regular management accounts, he refers them to me. So, relationships that you get out of these things will last for a lifetime.
So, Edward, how do you become a student like you are? I mean, you went ahead and took something and increased your results by 400%. And how do you get somebody to become as good as a student as you are?
That's hard. There's a lot of times that I teach people, and some people get it and some people don't, and some people get half of it or a quarter of it. It's not always as easy. Everybody's going to do it on their own level. You can teach them and you can help them, but it doesn't mean they're going to get it. It's like I could teach people to buy $20 million worth of properties in 5 years if they're super motivated and they've got the talent to do it. But that's going to be 1 out of 100 people or 1 out of 1,000 people that walk through the office. The tools are there.
You had 1 out of 10 and you turned it to 4 out of 10, and so maybe, whoever taught you how to do that might be able to teach you to take, rather than 1.
Oh, yes. Having people look at what you're doing, and I have Mark coach me, having people look at what you're doing sometimes is huge. Mark, I had a problem. I was inviting people to come to a seminar. I was having 1 in 10 people come. And I called Mark and said, 1 in 10 is not good. Okay, instead of getting more leads, I got to increase that 1 in 10 to a higher number. So Mark gave me just a couple easy suggestions that I knew would probably work, but maybe I would get 2 out of 10 with the suggestions. But it went from 1 in 10 to 4 in 10. People are now coming. And we're going to do, and he also suggested another thing we haven't implemented yet, but we're about to start this week because we started a video. Well, we actually finished the video. So the video is finished now, so now we're going to start sending out the video. And I'm thinking we may go from 4 to 10 to maybe 5 to 10 to 6 to 10.
So it was easy for you.
It was very easy for me.
But it's not easy for most people. Like Bruce and Teresa in Indiana, there's like a little tiny itty bitty tweak that they could make. Like just turn the dial 2 degrees and it'll just, bam, magic will happen. But I'm thinking it's not going to be easy. It's easy. The thing that amazes me about that situation with you is how easy it was for you. But it's not easy. And so how do you get somebody into a place where they really see, disciplined people, disciplined thinkers, discipline in taking action, because that's the core of all leadership. How do you go ahead and get somebody to the point where they have the aha like you do?
They have to believe they have a problem, which is a challenge. And they have to identify what the problem is, which is a bigger challenge. And then they have to believe that they can come up with a solution to fix the problem, which is another challenge. And if they really believe they have a problem and there's a solution for the problem, and somebody suggests a solution for the problem, willing to try to see if it works, or even if they try it, play with it, because maybe they're not implementing it right, and just to do that, just to make sure it works. So they have to believe they have a problem, though. They don't, and they have to identify the problem first. And I think right there, 99% of the people don't identify the problem.
See, that's what's intriguing when you talked about Renatas, and somebody does a deal, and they make $10,000. They're like, I made $10,000. They don't recognize they have a problem.
Right.
So if somebody starts a coffee connection, and there's 3 people or 10 people or whatever that show up, they're like, oh, this is great. Well, 10,000 is better than losing money. We're not doing anything. But they don't recognize, well, yeah, they have a problem. There's something much, much better, and that's making $70,000 on a deal. And so
Doing
it's,
two $70,000 deals is much better off than doing 14 $10,000 deals.
and so it's somehow creating like the awareness. It's somehow within a group, within a peer, where they can see, because we tend to see our own, we can see flaws in other people before we see them in ourselves.
That's a perfect lead into the DNA of people.